What is the best way to start vintage reselling in 2025? Well, today, that's exactly what I'm going to be running through, start to finish, how you can get started vintage reselling, how I personally make use of vintage reselling, and all of the tips and tricks you need to know to get started from a complete beginner in 2025. Now, firstly, it's probably best to introduce myself because there might be some new people watching right now. So my name's Alex, or AJU Sneakers, if you want to be cringe about it. I started reselling in around May 2022 when my friend at university introduced me to it. I've been absolutely addicted to doing it ever since then. I graduated uni last May and have been doing it full time ever since then. I've been documenting my entire reselling journey since November 2022 over on my Instagram page from start to finish, so you can see exactly how I got started and how I got to where I am now, where I'm doing it full time. I employ 3 of my best friends, chill in this big office full of shoes, and how I've dabbled in a little bit of everything from sneaker releases to sneaker botting to outlet reselling to bulk deals to vintage reselling and anything reselling related. I've probably done it. Now, I also own Resellers Paradise, the UK's biggest reselling group, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the video, but I hope you now have a little bit of confidence that I sort of know what I'm talking about to an extent. Now, to start off with, I'm going to separate the video into a few different sections, from buying your stock, what to do when your stock arrives, what are the best ways to sell your stock and how to get the most money for them, and how you can scale it up into a full-time business just like this. Obviously, nothing's going to happen overnight. This is not some kind of get-rich-quick scheme. But having owned Resellers Paradise, I have seen quite literally thousands of people start a side hustle and end up making thousands from it. So, let's get started with part 1, buying your stock in the first place. How exactly do you know what kind of stock to buy? To start off with, there's a few decent resources that are definitely worth checking out, mainly the other vintage reselling videos that I have on my YouTube page and the Resellers Paradise TikTok page. Now, on there, I show a bunch of items that people have sold on Vinted, how much they've sold it for, how much they've ended up buying it for. So that should give you a pretty decent idea on some of the items you should be looking at, how much you should be looking to sell them for. But if you're completely stuck as a beginner, you've got no idea where to start, this is what I would do. Now, firstly, as a complete beginner, probably the best thing to do is just start off on Vinted. Now, what I would do is choose some kind of niche, preferably something you know a little bit about, your sort of something that you'd wear, a kind of particular category you might know a little bit more about than another one. For example, Air Max 95s, and you're gonna want to go straight onto Vinted and just search up Air Max 95s, for example. Now, from there, have a scroll through and try and find a listing that looks professional, or someone like this who's got a wardrobe spotlight on, someone that seems to be selling quite a lot. Go on their page, you can see this guy, he's a pro seller, he's got 307 reviews. It's a good benchmark to go off of. Now, have a scroll through and see and look at the kind of prices he's getting for certain items. Now, here we've got a few higher end Air Max 95s, for example, Solar Reds, Neons. These are going to be going for a bit more than your regular pairs. Some React Visions here for £30. Air Max 95s for £70. Another pair of Air Max 95s for £75. And try and gauge a good idea of what kind of rough prices these items are selling for. We've got a slightly worse condition pair here for £35, a better condition pair here for £60, some Air Max Plus for £45, another pair of 95s for £60. These ones are really cheap for £25, but these ones are really beat up, really old and dirty. More for £60, £70, £60, £80, £75, £55 for a pair here. And from this, you can start to gauge that for a pair of Air Max 95s in relatively okay condition, you can probably sell for around the £60, £70 mark, give or take a little bit less considering this is an established seller. He's got more reviews, probably is going to be taking better photos and making better listings than you are, and may have a bit of a following. I'll show you another example. So we'll try here, Supreme t-shirt. Can't find a particularly good example of a seller on here, but as you can see, on average, a lot of the Supreme t-shirts listed about £35 to £40. Some on the higher end, 55, some on the lower end, 25 quid. This one's already got 5 favourites on. £24 there, that's a pretty hideous one. 35, 30, 55 for a better design one, 35, 36. So again, get your notes up on your phone, start to note down these prices that you want to be aiming to sell certain items for. Build up a few items, and then you're going to want to start to look out for these items. I now know that I can roughly sell a pair of Air Max 95s for about 50 to £60. So Now what I'm gonna do is search manually into Vinted, Air Max 95. You're gonna wanna sort by newest first. This will show all of the newest listings. This gives you the best chance of sniping a good deal if it's only showing you the newest ones first, because all of the good deals on Vinted normally get sniped up pretty quickly. And we're gonna wanna start to have a look through. So we've got some for 45. We've got a pair here in a size 5 for 19. In general, shoes, smaller sizes aren't gonna be selling as well. What's also sometimes worth doing is putting a price filter on. So if we're selling them for 50, ideally, we're gonna start at 40 as the max price. And here we go, a lot of smaller size ones. I've got a pair here for £30. It says it's satisfactory condition. You're gonna check out the condition on these first. Although it says satisfactory, I can't see anything really wrong with this. It says heavily used. This pair actually doesn't look too bad to me. Actually, you can see all of the fading. Here we go, we've got a pair here for £40. Very good condition. Seem pretty clean, everything seems in order. No rips or damage to the pair. So if you want to be selling these for about £50, £60, these are currently 40. I'd probably send over an offer of £30. Try and pick these up for around the £30, £35 mark. Leaves you about £15, £20 to make on top of that. Keep scrolling through, see what good deals you can spot. Sometimes you can spot a really good deal and snipe it without even having to put an offer in. We've found a pair here, MX95 cargo car keys in a UK 7.5, and you can see here this SKU code. Now, with shoes, all shoes have something called a SKU code, which is a 9-digit combination right here, which uniquely identifies each pair of shoes. Now, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is use that SKU code and search and try and find any eBay sold listings for this exact pair. Now, eBay is great for sales data because eBay, unlike Vinted, store all of the previous sales data publicly available for you to find on any pair of shoes. So you can price check previous sales of any particular item on eBay, see what they've been previously selling for. And now if you search it up here we go, search in this SKU code to eBay. We've gone to the left-hand side and put filter by sold items, set the condition to used. And as you can see here, a used pair from the British Heart Foundation actually, sold for £39. Have a look at the condition, see if it's similar to the pair we have here. This one is in relatively good condition. We've got a used pair picked here for £63, used pair here for 50, but that's actually a different colorway. And a used pair sold here for £117. So this for £30 is probably a pretty decent pickup. I'd still probably put in an offer for about £25 and aim to sell these for £45, £50. And all you're gonna wanna do from there is rinse and repeat this method. You can go through, send people spam a load of lowballs. You get 25 offers on Vinted a day. Lowball loads of people, see what prices you can get out of people. Check the prices on eBay and see if you can grab yourself a good deal. Now, for clothing where items don't have a SKU, for example, we're gonna go back to the Supreme t-shirts here. Sort by newest first, and we're gonna put the price. Max, we're gonna do £22, which gives us some haggling room, because we know we can sell these for roughly £30 to £35. Right here, we've got this Supreme t-shirt. So it's in here, it's got the name of the Supreme team, the title, but we're gonna try and find one which doesn't have the exact name of which t-shirt it is. So we've got this one right here, this Supreme t-shirt. If you can't tell what the exact t-shirt model is, we're gonna screenshot this, go onto the Google Lens app, and on here, you can upload images and it will reverse image search it and find the exact name of this t-shirt. As you can see here, we've put it in. You can find this is the Supreme Cutouts Tee White Fall Winter 2018. So that is one quite incredibly old t-shirt, a 7-year-old Supreme t-shirt. That's probably not gonna be in great condition, but then you're gonna wanna do the exact same thing. Search it into eBay, Supreme Cutouts Tee White Fall Winter 18. As you can see here, no found results, so you're gonna have to take a bit of a gamble on this one if you wanna buy it. This one actually looks relatively decent condition. You could probably get about 30 quid out of this. Send a lowball offer. See if you're able to pick it up cheap, and just rinse and repeat this exact method. It seems intimidating at first, but the more you do it, the more experience you'll gain, the better idea for prices you're gonna get. If you try it with a bunch of different categories, you'll quickly build up some knowledge. Once you get your first sales through, some confidence, you'll be absolutely flying. You do also need to be wary of fake items on Vinted now. There are a fair few fake items on Vinted, especially depending on the brand. For clothing and shoes, the best thing to go off of is the inside tags and the wash hashtags. Again, what you're going to want to do to try and legit check these items is search up a legitimate example on eBay and compare the inside labels to an authentic version on eBay compared to the one on Vinted. And if they match up well enough, you can be pretty confident they're authentic, but it's a lot easier to legit check items when they arrive in hand. And with Vinted, you do have to remember that you are always protected against fake items. You can always return fake items. You don't need to worry about having problems with it. Now, this is not actually how I buy my Vinted stock. Doing this manually can be quite time consuming, is what I recommend somewhat for beginners if you're starting off with £75 and below. But if you've got £75 and above to buy your stock with, I would recommend joining up Resellers Paradise. Ben, drop that ad.
Just wanted to briefly interrupt this video to promote Resellers Paradise, the UK's biggest reselling group, and of course, my reselling group. The fastest UK Vinted monitor and auto buy, so you can pick up hundreds of profitable items the second that they get listed on Vinted before anyone else even has the chance to see them on their feed. Low-key flips, like these Pokemon 151 sets, you can pick up for just £25 and sell over on eBay for 70. Exclusive discount monitors, catching all of the crazy discounts and price errors across all of the big UK online retailers. Of course, a 40-page, 10,000-word outlet reselling guide, and much, much more. If you're a complete beginner, there's always one-to-one support available. Since we've started, we've helped thousands of people going from never reselling before to now making 4 figures profit a month. Best part is that with code YouTube, you get 50% off your first month, making it literally £12.50. After that, if you decide it's not for you, you cancel it for free at any time. If you want to start reselling, links in the description to sign up. I'll hand you back over now.
Now, in Resellers Paradise, we have something called a Vinted monitor, which if you're in the Vinted reselling space, I'm sure you've heard quite a lot about. A Vinted monitor is essentially a tool. Whenever a good deal is posted on Vinted, it sends a notification into our Discord group with the listing, photos, details about the item, and even something called an auto buy that allows you to buy it without even leaving Discord. Let me show you. So this is what our Vinted monitor looks like. This is on the used shoes category. We actually have around 20 different categories covering everything from running shoes to laptops to cameras to phones to women's designer dresses, luxury items, football tops, jeans, Carhartt, designer, activewear, streetwear, used shoes, Ralph Lauren. And this is how the items pop up whenever it gets uploaded, sends a notification into the Discord, a little bit like this. For example, these New Balance 574 trainers, these have been listed for £9. The size is 38 now. The one downfall to the Vinted monitor is the size comes up in EU sizes, but you'll quickly be able to translate the EU size. The size 38 is about a size 4 or 5. Person's feedback, this person doesn't have any reviews, but a seller having no reviews isn't something I'd be put off of. Like I said, there are a lot of people who are new to selling on Vinted, and sometimes people with no reviews are actually the best people to buy from because these are the truly clueless people. Photos of the item, and then this hyperlink that will take you straight to listing. I'm assuming someone's already going to have bought this. Wow, no, they haven't. Maybe there's something wrong with it. Not a bad pair, actually, for £9. I might actually make an offer for £6 on this. So, thousands of items come through this Vinted monitor every single day. Literally since I opened this monitor, we've had 19 new items uploaded. Buying on a Vinted monitor is a little bit different to doing it manually now. Why would you use a Vinted monitor? It saves you so much time. Like, the used shoes categories covers all Nike trainers, all Adidas trainers, all Asics trainers, all New Balance trainers, all Adidas, Yeezy, Jordans. It covers quite literally everything, and the second something that's a good deal is uploaded, sends that notification in, so you don't miss any of the good deals that get uploaded on Vinted. And if you're wondering why you never find some of these crazy deals on Vinted, this is probably why people are using Vinted monitors. The way it works is, I will sit here while this Vinted monitor updates, wait for a good deal to come through. When something pops up that you think is a good deal, I'm just gonna use these. As an example, what the fuck is that, man? Press auto buy. You'll see this Resellers Paradise is thinking. Give it a minute. You can see here how many items are popping up every single day. There is genuinely thousands. And here you can see auto buy success. Press article link, and you'll see here you will have purchased the item quite literally the second that it's been uploaded. Kind of crazy, right? And this is how you can pick up crazy steals on Vinted off of people that don't understand the value of their item before anyone else even sees it. Now, taking you back to how do you know what to buy? If you're on Resellers Paradise, you have a community of over 1,000 other Vinted resellers, as well as 24/7 one-to-one support. Now, inside Resellers Paradise, we have another 2 channels here called Success and sales. Inside success and sales, people share other items that they've bought themselves and how much they've sold it for. For example, here, someone's picked up a North Face coat for £10. They've then sold it for £52. Someone's picked up some TNs for £25, sold them for £85. Someone's picked up some Alpha Fly running shoes for £34, sold them for £150. So this gives you, there is thousands of examples just like this, of people sharing what they've bought, how much they've paid for it, how much they've sold for it, and this will give you so much more inspiration on exactly what you should be looking out to buy and how much to pay for it, how much you can sell it for. As well as one-to-one support, so you can always, once you've bought something, you can always ask other people, hey, do you think this was worth buying or not? You can open one-to-one support chats with our staff who can help you with any other queries. It's the best place to get started with vintage reselling if you have £75 and above. Now I say £75 and above because the monitor is £25 a month, but if you stay till later on in the video, you may be able to get a 50% off your first month discount code. So yeah, I think that just about covers it. Now let me show you, when buying off the Vinted monitor is slightly different to regular buying off of Vinted. Now, with the Vinted monitor, more time, you have to be quick when you're buying items. You are competing against other people to buy these items off of the monitor, but there is quite literally tens of thousands of items that come through all of our different categories every single day. So as soon as you see something that you think is worth buying and you've set up the auto buyer, click that auto buy button. These actually are worth buying and I would buy these to resell. These on cards for £28. You can sell them for a profit. Click the auto buy button. That's quite a nice coincidence. And we've bought them. And rather than your typical going onto the listing, searching it up on eBay, asking, is this worth buying? If you see something and you think this may be worth buying, just press that auto buy button and buy it straight away. So, for example, these Baltic Blues, £95. I might think this is a good deal. This is not a good deal. I wouldn't buy this for £95. Maybe as a personal pair, but not to resell. You've bought it, there we go, auto buy success. You go onto the listing, you take a closer look, you think, oh no, this has a imagine there's a massive hole in here, right? And you think, oh, this is a bad pickup, I don't want to buy this. Or you send it into the Discord and other people are like, I wouldn't buy that, I don't think there's much money in there to resell. Quite literally, go to my orders, payment successful, and if you click on this little button in the corner, cancel transaction, choose a reason, agreed with seller, put anything, cancel this order, it will cancel it. You won't get any negative feedback. You're not gonna get banned on Vinted. I do this like 50 times a day. And then you can go again until you buy something that is worth reselling. So I think that just about covers it. For the buying phase, to be totally honest with you, I think I've covered everything pretty well. Choose a category that you wanna focus on, head onto the monitor, pick up some items that you think are worth reselling, and go from there. That's it for the buying phase. What I'm gonna go ahead and do now, sit on the monitor for a little bit on TikTok Live, on the Resellers Paradise TikTok Live, pick up some bits and update you with what I bought. And then once we've picked up those items, I'm gonna update you on exactly what you should do when you receive the items and how to get them sold. If you're still here, this is probably a good time to say, make sure you're subscribed to me. I'm trying to hit 10K before the end of the year, but I'm also doing a series where I turn £500 into £10,000 vintage reselling. So you're gonna wanna see this if you're trying to get started vintage reselling. I literally just run you through the whole process, exactly what I'm buying, how much I'm selling for, how I'm selling it. So drop a sub for that and check out my page, see if it's out already, might be worth watching. And drop a like on the video if you haven't already. It helps more than you could ever imagine. And remember, any questions throughout the whole video, drop them in the comments and I'll respond to them in a part 2. Okay, it's now a couple days later and we've picked up our first 2 items. And the first 2 items we've picked up are 2 clothing items. So I'm gonna run you through my process with clothing and I'm gonna run you through the process I use for sneakers. As it's ever so slightly different. Now, the first thing you got to do when you pick up an item from Vinted is always going to be legit checking. I have here a Stone Island t-shirt and a CP Company jumper. Now, I'm actually pretty gassed because the condition on both of these pieces is great. Now, as most of you will know, with Vinted, after you pick up an item, you have 24 hours to report an issue. So let me show you this. Basically, they give you 24 hours to report if the item is fake, if the item is not in the condition that it was advertised as, or if there's just any general problems with the item. So as you can see here, check before 30th of May at 11 AM. So luckily with these items, it's actually very easy to legit check Stone Island and CP Company. Now, pretty much all of the Stone Island and CP Company items will have something on the wash tag called a Certi logo. Now, Certi logo is a website which is used to legit check a few of the designer brands. It's a QR code, and all you have to do is scan the QR code and the website should tell you whether it's authentic. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Take you straight to Certi logo. As you see here, you press check authenticity. After purchase, it asks you a few questions like where you bought it from. And then there's a code that you will find on the back of the item here, which you just type in to this website. And it's came back that this piece is in fact authentic. So we can go back onto Vinted, go onto the purchase, press everything is okay, and then the seller will get paid out and you've got your item. Here we go. Everything's okay. Bosh. And now I'm just going to do this for the Stone Island t-shirt as well. This also has a Certi logo on the wash tag, just right here. However, if you were to get it and there was a problem, all you have to do is click here, I have an issue. It'll ask you a few questions, and then you've got to send in the proof of why it's not authentic, some close-up photos, or if it's just defect, you just send photos of the defect, and then Vinted will organise you to return the item. You don't need to worry about that. So we're just going to check the authenticity of the Stone Island t-shirt. We did actually pick this up for £5 as well, which is a crazy steal. It's actually came back that this Stone Island t-shirt is fake by the Certi logo. So I can actually just show you exactly what to do when this happens. So all I'm going to do is select, I have an issue, issues with the item not as described, comes up with all this bollocks. Scroll down to continue to report, select an issue, seems counterfeit, Certi, reason, you don't have to put anything crazy detailed, Certi logo, returns, fake, add photos as proof, put the screenshot in, preview the report and send it to the seller. And now the seller will either accept the return or send it up to Vinted. Vinted will review that and just say it's fake and get to return it. Some clothing doesn't have these Certi logos. So if you're picking up brands like Supreme or Stussy, it can be a little bit more difficult to legit check these items, but at the same time, it can be fairly easy. Now, the first thing I do is search up the name of the item to cross-reference against authentic examples. So I know that this is a CP Company lens sweatshirt, but you might not already know that. So if you don't know the exact name of the item, let me show you a little hack to find what exactly the item is called. It's using the Google Lens app. If you haven't used it before, just download Google Lens off of the App Store, and then you're going to want to go onto Google Lens, take a photo of the item, and it will reverse image search it and tell you the exact name of the item. Here you go, CP Company lens sweatshirt. Click on this eBay listing, and we're just going to visit the eBay listing to cross-reference against it. Here you can see an authentic example. And the main thing you're going to want to check against is the inner tags and labels. So for example, we got one here. Cross-reference the font, the stitching, see if it's similar. This isn't a very good photo to go off of, so let me try and find a better one. As you can see here, we've got one we've found from Google Lens. Font is the same, spacing between the letters is the same, and the colour of the stitching on the label is the same. So, more often than not, that's going to mean it's authentic. You can also check the inside wash tags as well, if you can find photos of them. Worst case scenario, if you're still really stuck, inside Resellers Paradise, we've got an entire section dedicated to legit checking. As you can see here, the legit check channel. Send the photos in and someone will respond to you. For example, here, this isn't authentic. Someone's told them these are authentic. Any questions? Like I said, just send in the photos. One of our staff or one of the members of the community will be able to help you with that. And then just follow the steps I said previously accordingly. So, with legit checked our item, everything's okay. Now it's time to get to listing. Now, firstly, to list an item, we're going to need to get some photos. So let me head over to my makeshift photo space. So this is the photo setup we have. Very modest, to be honest. Let me turn the lights on real quick so you can see what it actually looks like when it's working properly. Is that both of them? Yeah, so this is our photo setup. I basically created like a little background just to make everything look a lot better. Now, luckily, there's like no creases in this, but normally, my clothes before I photo them, I would steam them and use a lint roller on them, but my steamer's not here, and this doesn't need steaming anyway. But this photo background, literally, is just cardboard boxes taped up with some adhesive tiles stuck to them and 2 lights. And to be honest with you, like you can see, it looks pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pretty happy with it. So, photos. What photos do you need to take? Now, again, I'm going to run you back through this when we get a pair of sneakers in hand, but I'll do it first for clothing. So, clothing, all you really need to include is a picture of the front, back, any close-up, like, particular features or designs. If there's a print, like the BPM prints, include a close-up of the print. In this example, the CP company, we're going to include a close-up of the badge. And then any tags, so you want that up the... You're going to want a close-up photo of this CP company tag, this inside wash tag. I've now ruined my little layout, but you know what a wash tag is, right? And then I'll get a photo of the back of it. So let me take the photos. Now, some people use square mode for their photos. I don't think square mode looks very good on Vinted. I think it looks actually worse. So I just use regular camera. So I'm going to take the photos now. You can see, just make sure it's nice and centered. You can actually get some grid lines onto your camera to make sure it's centered, but I'll be real with you, I'm kind of lazy. I don't do that. We're going to get a close-up of the lens, close-up of badge. Then we're going to get inside, get a close-up of the Certi logos, people know it's legit, and a close-up of the wash tag. Then we're going to flip it over like this, make sure it's nicely laid out, nice and even on each side, which is currently not. That's even enough for me. Get a close-up of this CP company up the top, and then just an overall photo of the back of it. Bosh, photos have now been taken. So now it's time to list the item. So, how do you price your items when you list them? Now, as I mentioned before, if you don't know the exact name of the item, what you're going to want to do is use Google Lens, take a photo of the item to find the exact title of the item that you're trying to sell. Then, your first step of trying to work out how do you price your item is by using eBay. So, I am going to search into eBay, CP Company Lens Sweatshirt Olive, or just CP Company Lens Sweatshirt, to be honest. The colour doesn't really matter, as long as you have a rough idea of the price. We're going to do condition used. We're then going to go scroll down and then show only sold items. Now, eBay is very useful. Shows you all of the sold listings of all of the items that's on their platform, so you can get a rough idea of the price you can sell your items at for. So here, similar one here for $39.96. That's quite cheap. One here for $47. One here for $40. 52, 21, 52 again, 57, 70, 70, 57, 90, 93. Considering I paid 27 quid for mine, I reckon just to get the quick sales in, could probably sell this for between 50 and 70 pounds, depending on how quickly you want to make the sale. I think it's in really good condition. It does also depend on the condition of the piece, but as I've just showed you, the condition of that piece is immaculate. So we're going to aim for, I think I'm going to list it for 50, just for the quick sale, for the sake of the video to show you guys. Sometimes you won't be able to find much on eBay. If that is the case, the next port of call I would do is go into the Resellers Paradise Discord, scroll down until you find this success or sales channel. Now, in the sales channel, it's where people post about all of the sales that they're making on Vinted, and you can use it as a tool to gauge the price for certain items. Have a scroll through here until you find something that's similar to the item you're trying to sell to get a rough idea for the price. You've got loads of niche stuff in here. For example, this guy, On Runners, paid £7.50, sold them for £50. This guy's something a bit more niche. Some Asics running shoes, paid 30 and sold them for 70. Another Asics running shoe here, paid £10, sold for 50. Someone else here has sold a dry fit golf shirt, some MS95s, loads and loads of different things. P6000s, Air Forces, paid £8, sold for 40. And you can have a look through the success channel as well. People do sometimes post their sales in here as well, but very useful tool, especially as a new reseller, to gauge prices of different items, how much you'd be selling for, how much you'd be paying for it. If you're still really stuck, final port of call would just be to open a support ticket in the Discord. Show you how to do that as well. This is right at the top. Support would be the second section down. Click here, create ticket. And what this does is it opens a chat with all of the staff in our Discord. You can ask them and they should be able to point you in the right direction and give you a rough price. Like I said, the more you're doing these kind of things, the better you're going to get at it, the more sort of natural it's going to come to you. So let's get this listed for £50. Okay, so for the listing title, you want to include the full name of the product. So this is a lens sweatshirt. The name could be the t-shirt design name, for example, Supreme Fall Winter 2021 Brazzers collab or some shit. You know what I mean? Then you're also going to want to include the size in the title if it's men's or women's. For the description, you want to include any key details. This is your chance to sell the item, okay? Really sell it to the people. So I've put no bobbling or scratches on the lens. This is quite like an important thing for CP companies, sweatshirts in general. But for like regular graphic tees or printed t-shirts, the main thing you're going to want to be looking out for is certain things about the item to put into that description to sell it. Now, I've also included provably authentic by the Certi logo. It's just worth in a lot of your listings putting 100% authentic, just so nobody's, confused. Sent next day is always a good one to put in, just so people know it's going to get shipped quickly. And then buy from a trusted seller. If you're a new Vinted seller, I wouldn't necessarily put that. I've got over 100 or so reviews, so it's worth putting it. The category is fairly self-explanatory. It is also, if you can be bothered, I'll be so honest with you, I never do because I can't. It's also worth adding the measurements. Yes, that means getting a tape measure out and measuring the pit to pit and shoulder to waist lengths. I know it's long. I don't bother with it. If you're really serious about scaling up your Vinted reselling and making a load of sales, you should bother with it. Put those measurements in the description. It stops you having people asking you about them. It could lead to more sales. Condition, very good. Colours, self-explanatory. The price, as I said before, $49.99. Parcel size, you can probably get away with putting most things as a small. Shoes I put as a medium. It'd have to be a fucking size of a car for me to put it as a large parcel because that means your buyer's paying more postage, less likely to buy the item. But I also wouldn't try and game the system because Vinted could screw you over. So just be as honest as possible. Try and, game the system just a little bit. And just like that, we've got it listed. So that's the first clothing listing. That's how to get a clothing item listed. I will let you know how long it takes to sell this item. And then hopefully we have some more parcels arrive tomorrow. Okay, the first 2 pairs of shoes have now arrived. So once again, I'm gonna run you through the exact process of what we're gonna do when we receive it and how to get it listed. So this is the pair of Metcons we paid £29 on. Now, £29 is a little bit high maybe for these, but as we're inspecting them, you can see they're in pretty mint condition with shoes with white soles in particular. You want to make sure that the paint isn't coming off of them. Sometimes they can just be a bit dirty, but sometimes they can look a bit deceiving. It can look like they're dirty, but the paint has actually come off completely. That is not the case for these whatsoever. Shoes, you're also going to want to look for any holes or defects similar to that around the entire shoe. And another thing that's common is rips at the back inside here. That is not the case for these, so I'm pretty happy to pay a bit of a more of a premium price for this pair. Now, legit checking the shoes. So with shoes, the main thing you can go off of, that I go off of, is the inside tag here, as you can see. Now, by literally just eyeing it, I can tell that this is an authentic Nike shoe. This is how the tag should look. Again, it's all about the boldness of the text, the size, the font. But if you are unsure, here's how we're going to cross-reference against a authentic pair. So we're going to use something called the SKU. So the SKU is this 9-digit combination right here. All shoes have a SKU. This is how it's formatted for Nike shoes, the 9 digits. Adidas, it's slightly different, it's 6 digits. But we're going to use this SKU and we're going to search it up on eBay. Now, another good indicator of authenticity of shoes is the shape of them, but that can be kind of difficult to gauge if you don't have an authentic example to actually cross-reference it against in hand. So we're going to go onto eBay, search up the SKU, and find a listing of an authentic example from a trusted seller. So right here, we've got one. No pictures of the inside label though. So we're gonna have a search for it until we can find one with the inside label. Unless you can't find one at all. Now in this case, if you can't find on eBay an example of a picture of the inside label, all I do is head over to the Resellers Paradise Discord I've been mentioning throughout this video, going to questions or the legit check channel. Here we've got two sections. We've got questions and a legit check channel. Submit your photos in there and ask the community whether they think they're authentic or not. Someone will be able to come back to you with an answer and tell you why it is or isn't authentic. For some shoes, higher end shoes like Jordan 4s, Air Maxes, you just want to be 100% certain. Something's a little bit more expensive or maybe something looks a bit off to you. There is a couple of apps you can also use to legit check items. One of them is called Check and one of them is called Legit App. I personally use Legit App. It's a really handy app you can get on your phone. Basically, all you have to do is search for the shoe you're looking for. So we'll go with Nike sneakers. I'm not sure if it'll be in this section. For this example, we'd press Other. You have to buy tokens. Now, it will cost you about £3 to get it checked. I think that's how much free tokens is. Let me double check. Free tokens, $4, yes. It's about £3 to have the app check it for you, but this will give you an 100% definitive answer. Then all you got to do is take some photos of the shoe, submit it, and within 30 minutes, you'll receive a response whether they're authentic or not. I use this for most of the bits that I pick up. For example, unfortunately, these Air Maxes you might have seen in another video were fake. Some Jordan 4s from another video you also might see in the frozen moments were in fact authentic. It's a really good tool, especially if you're unsure and can't get into Vinted Advanced anywhere else. So we know they're authentic. As I previously showed you, gone to Vinted, confirmed that everything's okay with the seller, and now we're going to want to get them up listed to sell. So we're going to need some photos. So once again, we're off to the makeshift photo space. There's some shoes on there already. We're just going to...
Bro, they're actually a decent skew.
Yeah. While they're monkeying around next door, we've also got a pair of New Balance 550s. These are the ones we paid £13 for that have arrived. Again, best thing to do is cross-reference against the label. Some of the pairs which are a little bit cheaper, you may not want to spend the £3 to get them legit checked. So again, best thing to do is ask in the Discord if you're not sure. But another thing you can also do if you can't find it on eBay is literally just search New Balance 550 inside tag into Google. And this will give you a really good reference point to go off of. So I'll tell you exactly what to be looking for, the thickness of the text. As you can see here, in the non-authentic example, the text is a lot thicker, whereas ours in here is much more similar to the top example. Thinner, less bold. Most shoes off of the label are pretty easy to check or have some pretty, obvious giveaways. Okay, I've since been to the gym. We're now about to show you how to take photos. So, with shoes, first thing, now normally it's best to give them a clean. To be honest with you, to be so real with you, I can't be bothered to give them a clean. But the cleaning stuff I use is literally just from a Crep Protect kit. One of these things, the Ultimate Box Pack. Gives you a cleaning solution, a scrub, and then a cloth to dry things off with. Should be somewhere in this kitchen here. These two things. You don't need any super fancy cleaning equipment, obviously. I mean, once you start taking it a bit more seriously, making a bit more money, you can invest into some higher end cleaning equipment, but I personally don't bother. Probably should, but I don't. Now, first thing for the photos, laces. Now, it always looks best to lace an item using a method called DS lacing, aka dead stock lacing. So the shoes come when they're brand new. So literally, I'm not going to try and explain to you how to do it because I don't really know how to do it that well myself. But if you look up on YouTube how to DS lace, there'll be a good tutorial on there for you there. But it just makes the shoes look much more presentable for your photos. And obviously you want to make your shoes as presentable as possible because it'll ultimately lead to more sales. So there we go. Sometimes I even tuck the laces behind the back tab. Next, for shoes, you're going to want to put some tissue paper in the soles just to fill them out a bit. I've nicked some out of a brand new pair of shoes, but you can use newspaper, paper, plastic. Doesn't really make a difference. So I'm going to stick that in the end there. Make sure it's nice and even. Just bulks the shoes out a bit, makes them look in their full proper shape. Again, a little bit more presentable. Okay, so for the actual photos, I'm using the same photo setup as before, but ultimately you just need some decent lighting and a nice, clear, consistent background. So I take 6 lots of photos when I'm photoing items. You're going to need a photo of each side of the shoe. So you want the outer sole, the inner sole, the actual sole of the shoe, an aerial view, photo of the back, and then a photo of the inside label. So as you can see here, outer sole, aerial, inner sole, sole. When I say sole, I mean midsole. The back, and then the label. This means there's photos covering every single angle of the shoe and the label. This helps people check to make sure they're authentic and so they know that you're selling the right size. And as well, it means if you sell something to someone Vinted, they can't argue there's an aspect of the shoe that wasn't described, wasn't in the photos, and it just keeps them, peace of mind. So last thing we're going to want to do is price them up. Again, loads of resources inside the success and sales channels in Resellers Paradise to work out what kind of price you should be aiming for. But we're going to go onto eBay again, put the condition as used, and then have a look at some example sales on there. And as you can see, some at 40, some at 30, some at 35, one's at 70. This may indicate that I could have overpaid on the item just a little bit, and maybe I should have done a little bit more research myself. But I think I'm going to list it up on Vinted at 40. I sell new pairs of these at £70 all day long, and these are in really good condition, so I can't see them not selling at that. I should add as well, I don't think I mentioned this, but with all of your items you're selling, especially when you don't have much stock and you're trying to build up your sales, you should also be listing your items across Depop and eBay as well as Vinted. Maximizes your exposure and means you're going to get the most sales possible. And of course, if you can't find a listed sales on eBay, if you can't find examples in success of sales, just ask in Resellers Paradise for other people's recommendations. Someone will be able to give you a rough guide. So I think that covers all bases. All that's left now is for me to list up my items and make some sales to show to you that this does actually work. And just like that, a few days later, we've managed to sell our pair of Metcons we paid 28 for 40. And the Alpha Fly Zooms that we paid just about 40 quid for 65. So out of the 6 items we bought, we only actually ended up getting 4 of them because we had to return 2 of the fakes. The other 2, the running shoes we bought, they're doing really well. They're on 13 favourites. Should sell them in absolutely no time. And then the CP company jumper is also on 7 favourites at £50, so should be able to sell them relatively easily. But that is a wrap, guys. That is my Vinted reselling guide for 2025. I do hope you found this helpful. If you do have any further questions and feel like I haven't covered something, please let me know down in the comments, as I'll be replying to every single comment. But if you're able to do that on a bit of a bigger scale, if you reinvest those profits, you can end up buying 15, 20 pairs a day, 100 pairs a week. And if you can scale that up and start seeing 30, 40 sales every single week, you're making 4 figures profit every single month. It's just about reinvesting those profits from there, scaling it up, and seeing where you can really take it. But yeah, guys, if this is something you're serious about getting into, I would seriously recommend joining Resellers Paradise. Like I said, that's where the Vinted monitor I've been using is the fastest in the UK, with the fastest auto buyer. Got the massive community of people that can help you if you're just getting started, or if you have any questions, even if you've already been doing it for a while, there's loads of value you can get from it. Not just that, all of the Pokemon reselling sneaker release guides. You've heard about it all early on in the video. And of course, code YouTube will get you 50% off your first month to join. The link will be down in the bio. But guys, if you haven't already, please drop a sub. It helps more than you could ever imagine. I'm trying to hit 10k by the end of the year. And if you found some value in this video, that's kind of the least you could do for me. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, let me know how your Vinted journey's going down in the comments below. Hopefully I've inspired some of you to get started. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to check out my 500 to £10,000 series as well. That's where I'm putting all of this into practice and showing how quickly you can realistically scale everything up. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.